Okay. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you guys for coming tonight, for choosing to spend an hour of your Wednesday night here. Most of you know me, I think. For those of you who don't, my name is Fran Bambaji, and I am a practitioner of human design, which is primarily a tool for discerning how to make correct and authentic decisions. During my Wednesday teachings, I often transmit light language, and it comes through me spontaneously. And although I do not know what is being communicated, it always feels powerful. And I believe and I trust that on some level, you each understand and absorb the message in the way that you need to. So tonight's topic is why a healthy immune system is essential. And the answer is really very simple. You know, if your immune system is unhealthy, if it's compromised or unbalanced, you live a life at less than 100% of your potential. So it's important. But what does it mean to have a healthy immune system? What is the immune system actually? And how do you know what is right for you in terms of taking care of the immune system? Because we are not one-size-fits-all beings. And there are guidelines. Of course, there are guidelines, but they are only guidelines. They're not rules. And ultimately, and with everything that I share with you, you are your own authority. You make your own decisions about what your vessel needs, because those decisions come from your vessel. So I'm going to share with you some of what I've discovered over the years around this subject of immunity. There's a lot to cover again, and in order to give it the room that it needs, I feel that we'll probably be looking at 3 sessions to cover all of it, and to really, you know, dive in and not be too superficial. It seems to me that you cannot have an informed discussion or make correct decisions around the immune system without knowing what it is. So tonight we will look at what it is that we actually call the immune system. Next week, we will explore what an unhealthy immune system looks like, what causes imbalance, and how to know if we are out of balance. And without me giving any medical advice, because that's not my thing, how we can support our immune system. And the third session will be looking at how you are designed to make the decisions from your unique vessel, what your unique vessel needs. And in that process, if any of you would like to know your type or look at your human design chart so that you can talk through that process, we can do that, and I'll tell you about it next week. So let's begin, as always, by bringing ourselves into the room and being completely in the space that we're in, giving our attention to this, setting our intention that tonight we're going to be right here, right now, and listen to the information that's coming through to you. So you might want to close your eyes. You might not want to close your eyes. Relax. And when you're ready, please take a deep breath and then exhale and feel your body relax. What I teach is all around the body. It's all about looking after the vessel, this wonderful vehicle that we ride around in. Feel into the body and feel it relax as you exhale. Let go of all of the thoughts of the day and just be centered in the love that you have for life, for all life, everywhere. And if you've had a shite day and you're not feeling the love right now, pretend. You know, bring something to your awareness that makes you smile, makes you feel good, and feel this. Know that this is love and that our background frequency is always love, and feel it in your body. Feel it all around you. Each breath takes you deeper into love and brings peace to the body and to the mind. Each breath is life for the body, and you exhale that life force infused with your love back out into the world. So be mindful of what you express in your words, your deeds, your thoughts, your feelings, and even with your breath. Know that this process of breathing mindfully, of bringing love and peace into your body, is nourishing for your immune system. We are a totality. We are the whole package. Everything is connected to everything else. In your body is the water of the oceans. In your body is the fire of the stars and the sun, all the suns. In your body is the air. Your body is made of earth, and it represents the whole of existence, all the elements. And what a transformation has taken place. Now you look at earth, and then you look at your body. What an amazing thing. Take a moment to marvel at that. Take a moment to consider that dust has taken form and become divine in you. Out of mud comes the lotus flower, and out of dust comes our beautiful body. And gently come back into the room. Be here right now. A sip of water if you need it, stamp your feet, ground yourself, and we shall explore. Beginning our journey with the question, what is the immune system? As this presentation started to take shape with me tonight, I realized that the language I'll be using might seem quite harsh. And I don't mean my usual potty mouth swearing. It's not that. We like to think that, well, we're peace and love and light and all of these things. You know, we are those things. But inside here, these bodies of ours, well, it's a killing field. Seriously, in here, we have killer cells, we have ambush cells, we have comms units. We are full of death and destruction. And I couldn't find a way of presenting it to you that was kind and gentle. So I guess we have to accept that in the service of keeping us healthy and alive, our immune system is basically a weapon of mass destruction. It is what it is. And I ask you to please don't get hooked on the words or what your mind conjures out of them. Just allow it to be. So the main organs of the immune system include the skin, the lymphatic system, the spleen, the tonsils, the gut, and the bone marrow. We will look at each of these in isolation to get an idea of what they do. But please always remember the body works holistically. Our immune system is a microcosm of the macrocosm. These days, more than any other time in history, our immune system is taking a battering. You know, and they've been in steady decline for a while now, as we discussed a few sessions back. But this last year particularly has been really hard on our immune systems. Being isolated does not make for a healthy immune system. We need to have contact with others, with their bugs, with their beneficial bacteria, in order to keep our own immune systems healthy and up to date with its environment. Now let's go back to our beginnings for a moment, this incarnation at least. In the last trimester of pregnancy, antibodies are passed from the mother to the baby through the placenta. And when babies are born, they have what is called a passive immunity. It's passed to them from their mother at birth. And studies have shown that there's a huge difference in the gut bacteria of a child born through cesarean section and those born vaginally. Babies produce their own antibodies every time they're exposed to a virus or a germ, of course, but it takes time for this immunity to fully develop. To aid this process, more antibodies together with probiotics are passed on through the breast milk. In the early weeks, mothers and babies are usually together all the time and are exposed to similar germs. And this means the baby is protected and their immune system can start to build a recognition of the various bacteria around them and so on. Passive immunity doesn't last long. It's a few months after birth. And it is a full 7 to 8 years before the development of the immunity is complete. And I don't know about these days, but think about those first 7 or 8 years. Back when I was a kid, I'd have been outside all the time. We would have been jumping in puddles, getting dirty. We're animals, remember? We're not couch potatoes, we're not computer slaves. We're animals whose natural behavior is movement, balanced with rest. Movement in our young is very important. So we would have been outside, we would have been getting muddy, we'd get the odd cut, the odd scrape, but we would have such fun. We'd go to the woods and we'd make dens out of the undergrowth. It probably doesn't happen quite so much these days for a number of reasons, but we were fortunate enough to have that experience. Being outside meant exposure to the sun, all that lovely vitamin D, coming into the body naturally from its source. These days, I have to say, mine mostly comes out of a bottle. Anyway, all of that was great for the health of the body. And it helped grow strong, healthy immune systems for those first few years. Able to recognize all sorts of pathogens, to remember them, and to know how to deal with them if they should show up again. Dirt is really important in terms of keeping our immunity strong. And I don't mean eating stuff from the sewers. I mean, but we are way too clean these days, or we're encouraged to be clean. Washing our hands every time we shake hands with someone or touch something. And that 5-second floor rule, and of course I understand completely hygiene is important. I'm not disputing this. But we need to come into contact with dirt, with bacteria, and with germs. The word pathogen comes from the Greek pathos, which means both suffering and disease. And the word gen means born of. I'm not sure that ancient Greeks actually used the word pathogen. However, they were among the first recorded people to use antibiotics. They used to press moldy bread onto wounds, apparently. Slightly more supportive of the body than the pharmaceutical antibiotics that we use today. The way that we are being encouraged to behave in the current situation we are in is not going to encourage a strong immune system, which is exactly what we need to have to get through this current situation that we're in. What to do? Our bodies, these vessels, they're not really what we would consider entirely human. We are an ecosystem with around half of our body's cells made up of microbes, such as bacteria and viruses and fungi. Most of them live in our gut and are collectively known as the microbiome. And this is what many people think of as the immune system. But as you will see, this is not the whole story. Your immune system is an intricate network of cells, tissues, and organs that collectively have a very important job, protecting you against attacks by disease-causing pathogens. If one of these substances, often called just germs, it's easier, if they try to invade your body, your immune system first tries to keep them out, and if that doesn't work, it then tries to destroy them. The human body could be described as a multicellular battlefield for two ancient forces, pathogens and the immune system. Not all microbes are harmful, and this is worth bearing in mind. Those that are capable of causing infections, the pathogens, are things like rhinoviruses, which cause the common cold, the coronaviruses, chickenpox, tuberculosis, ringworm, and even athlete's foot. Nature, being the superbly created organism that it is, designed pathogens to contain antigens. These are molecules found on the surface of a pathogen that alert the immune system. They let it know that it's under attack. When the immune system is activated by the presence of a potential threat in the form of an antigen, what happens is called an immune response. And the first line of defense for the body is the skin. For a pathogen to enter the body, it must get past your skin. Usually, the only way it can move past this barrier is to penetrate the skin through cuts or small abrasions. But there are other entry points, such as the nose, which are lined with cells which are collectively called mucous membranes. If the immune system senses a threat in the nose, these membranes secrete mucus, a sticky substance I'm sure you're all familiar with, but it's designed to trap pathogens and to kill them. It can also trigger sneezes and coughs that help to physically force foreign invaders out of your respiratory system. If you eat food that's been infected with pathogens, the strong acid of your stomach, it will often kill them before they can progress any further. This depends a bit on the health of your gut, and we will discuss this later, maybe next week. If a pathogen breaches all of these frontline defenses, the next obstacle it has to overcome is the layer of mucus that covers the tightly packed cells called epithelial cells that line the digestive, respiratory, and urogenital tracts. To reach and infect the underlying cells, a pathogen has to get through the mucosal surfaces. And these surfaces also secrete a type of antibody. Now, if the pathogen is successful, it then has to face a whole army of immune system cells, macrophages, B cells, T cells, phagocytes, NK cells, and so on, before it can reach its target. Our immune system is so intelligent. It can recognize and remember millions of different pathogens and their corresponding antigens, all of which work differently to cause different infections. Thankfully, our immune system knows how to deal with each one. Bacteria, for instance, they are largely tackled by antibodies. These attach themselves to bacteria and they send signals to other immune cells, including phagocytes, to say, hey, come destroy these guys. The phagocytes also signal some T cells who then also line up to attack the bacteria. Most bacteria live in the space between cells, but viruses and a few types of bacteria and parasites must get inside the cell or they die. Antibodies can attach to viruses before they have the chance to enter any cells, which helps the immune system to destroy them before they can do any harm. But if a virus does infect a cell or a number of cells, the cells can use protein molecules to place fragments of that virus or other germs that have invaded them onto their cell surface. These fragments are then recognized by T cells, which then try to destroy the infected cells. Parasites, meanwhile, can live either inside or outside cells. When one invades a cell, the T cell is called into action to destroy it. But parasites that live outside, they trigger a bigger immune response, with different antibodies attracting several different types of white blood cells to the site to deal with the situation. These immune cells release toxic chemicals that can trigger an inflammatory response, which helps to destroy the parasite. I mean, the body, it truly is a battlefield. You know, we've got chemical warfare going on in there. We've got invasions. We've got seek and destroy T cells. It's like, whoa. Okay, lymphocytes. Lymphocytes are a type of white blood cell, that work for the immune system, of course, and there are two types. There are T cells and B cells. T cells make antibodies that fight infections we've already previously been exposed to. They are made in the bone marrow, but they develop and mature in the thymus and in some of the lymphatic system too. They attack pathogens directly, but they need help from other cells to recognize the pathogens. Once they've been activated, the T cells, they expand, they start to divide, and they release the chemicals that then destroy the pathogen that they've been alerted to. Some of these cells have the function of forming the memory of that pathogen so that if it invades the body again, your body can respond quickly to it. And there are other kinds of T cells which monitor the first kind. So when it's necessary, they're able to stop the T cells from working, and they can prevent then your immune system being activated unnecessarily. The B cells, they also make antibodies. They make the special proteins that lock onto the antigens, which are found on the surface of pathogens, flagging them up for death. Okay, get this. I found this as an amazing fact, right? When a B cell recognizes an antigen, it binds to its surface. The B cell then changes into a plasma cell that makes specific antibodies that target a particular antigen. How incredible are our bodies? You know, all of this goes on and we have no idea. Probably good job we don't, because we try and control it and we cannot. But it's just such an amazing thing to bring some awareness to. Those antibodies also activate our immune defenses, some of which encourage other cells to come and join the party and destroy the pathogen. So each B cell makes a specific type of antibody. And it's believed that B cells can recognize millions of different antigens, including some that have never entered the body, and even some man-made antigens. And how does it know? One other type of lymphocyte is called a natural killer cell, also known as an NK, which, like killer T cells, release chemicals to attack several types of foreign cell. Phagocytes are another type of white blood cell. They're great bakers. They enjoy gardening and making new friends. Hold on a minute. No, they kill viruses, bacteria, and other harmful organisms, as well as body cells that are no longer useful. They recycle them and they clear away cellular debris. There are even immune cells that roam the body, kind of freelance, circulating through the bloodstream, keeping a lookout for problems and munching down on any bacteria they meet. And these are called granulocytes, and they originate in the bone marrow. And finally, that I'm going to discuss are the cytokines, chemical messengers that allow the various components of the immune system to communicate with one another. Some cells release cytokines at the site of an injury or an infection, sending signals to other cells to come and repair the damage or fight off any intruders. And cytokines have made headlines in recent months because of the cytokine storm, an immune reaction gone wild. Cells that flood and attack the very body that they should be protecting, which can be catastrophic. It's as though an orderly army of cells wielding their molecular weapons gets out of control, morphing from obedient soldiers into an unruly bunch of torch and pitchfork bearing people out to kill indiscriminately. So the skin is the vessel's first line of defense against pathogens, providing that barrier against invaders, producing oils that can kill them. It also recognizes pain and alerts the immune system to danger, in addition to being this physical barrier to the external environment. With the constant movement of immune cells between the microbiome of the skin and the draining lymph nodes and blood circulation, all contributing to the homeostasis of its own welfare, it's almost as though the skin has its own immune system. The second physical barrier that protects against infection is made up of the mucous membranes, those soft, moist linings in parts of your body, including the mouth, the nose, the gut, and the airways. And not all mucous membranes produce mucus, but some do. Now it's very acid, it traps bacteria and it kills them, attacks and destroys. The lymph nodes and the lymphatic vessels are part of a network of vessels and tissues called the lymphatic system, which is an important component of the immune system. It contains non-cellular fluid called lymph, as well as hundreds of small glands called lymph nodes, where T cells learn how to recognize and destroy invading organisms. It's like a school for T cells. The lymph nodes also help to filter out viruses, bacteria, cancer cells, so that they can be destroyed. These nodes are located throughout the body, including the neck, the armpits, the groin, around the gut, between the lungs, and they drain lymph fluid from nearby organs or other areas of the vessel. Now, this system doesn't have its own active pumping system in the way that the blood circulation does with the heart. It needs the body to move. It needs the action of breathing. Deep breathing helps to move lymph around the body. Intestinal activity and muscle action. This all creates the flow and push to get toxins out of the body. The lymphatic system is really important for the optimal functioning of our general health and specifically our immune responses. The major parts of the lymphatic tissue are located in the bone marrow, in the spleen, in the thymus gland, the lymph nodes, and the tonsils. The heart, the lungs, the intestines, liver, and skin also contain lymphatic tissue. It's like a sewerage system. It maintains fluid levels in the body and in the tissues of the body by removing all fluids that leak out of our blood vessels. It absorbs digestive tract fats and it removes cellular waste. The spleen, which is a large mass of tissue found just under the rib cage on the left side of the body, it's just behind the stomach and it's under the diaphragm. It is soft and purple and it's about 5 inches long, 3 inches wide, and 1.5 inches thick. And it works very closely with blood and lymph. Considering its size, it's a very busy organ and it has important functions. The main one being that it acts as a filter for the blood. When blood flows into the spleen performs quality control. Red blood cells have to pass through a maze of narrow passages. Healthy blood cells simply pass through the spleen and continue to circulate throughout the bloodstream. Blood cells that can't pass the test will be broken down in the spleen by macrophages, which are large white blood cells that specialize in destroying these unhealthy red blood cells. Despite being purple, the spleen is also very green. It saves any useful components from the old cells, such as iron, which it stores and eventually recycles back to the bone marrow, where hemoglobin is made, of course, that important protein in the blood that transports oxygen from the lungs to all parts of the body. Another purpose of the spleen is blood storage. The blood vessels in human spleens are able to get wider or narrower, depending on the body's needs. When vessels are expanded, the spleen can actually hold up to a cup of reserve blood. If for any reason the vessel needs extra blood, for example, an unexpected vampire attack or trauma causes you to lose blood, your spleen can respond by releasing that reserve blood back into the system. And just as it detects faulty red blood cells, the spleen can pick out any unwelcome microorganisms, any germs that are in the blood. When one of these invaders is detected, the spleen, along with the lymph, jumps into action, sends out a blast on its bugle, and creates an army of defender cells, the lymphocytes that we mentioned earlier. Next is the thymus gland. It's a small butterfly-shaped organ which is found at the front of the windpipe, and it's classed as a lymphatic organ. This is where the T cells move to after they've been produced in the bone marrow. It's where they learn to tell the difference between normal body cells and potentially harmful foreign cells that invade the body. The thymus is critically important to the immune system, and at birth it is the largest organ of the lymphatic system because of that vital role that it plays in building the immune system of the baby. Unsurprisingly, bone marrow is found inside the bones. It is a soft substance that produces the stem cells that go on to develop into a variety of different cells, including all the types of immune system cells. There are two kinds of bone marrow. Red bone marrow produces the red blood cells that transport oxygen around the body and is found in the flat bones of the body, such as the sternum and the pelvic girdle. It produces platelets that are necessary for blood clotting. And it is also home to the B lymphocytes, which remain in the marrow where they mature, waving goodbye to their cousins, the T lymphocytes, which travel to the thymus to continue their education as deadly assassins. Yellow bone marrow gets its name from the high concentration of fat cells, which appear yellow in color, and it is found in the cavities in the shafts of the long bones, and it is often surrounded by a layer of red bone marrow. It is important for fat storage, and it contains a type of stem cell which produces cartilage, fat, and bone. Yellow bone marrow also aids in the storage of fat in the cells called adipocytes or adipocytes. And this helps maintain the right environment and provide sustenance that bones need to function. As we age, yellow bone marrow replaces red bone marrow. Although during emergencies, the body can convert yellow bone marrow to red if it needs it to keep us alive. Okay, tonsils and adenoids. Tonsils are tiny organs located at the back of our throat, while the adenoids are a patch of tissue that is high up in the throat, just behind the nose. They're both part of the immune system, of course, and because of their location in the throat and the palate, they're perfectly placed to do the work of filtering our air and detecting, trapping any germs that come in through the mouth and the nose during breathing. They contain the immune cells that produce antibodies that kill these pathogens before they can spread to the rest of the body. The tonsils contain a lot of those germ-killing white blood cells. When I was young, tonsils were thought to have no function and were considered an obsolete part of the human body. When they got infected, they were whipped out at the drop of a hat. And I have to say that many of us in school quite wanted that operation because it meant you got to live on ice cream for a couple of weeks, which really seemed like a bonus, you know. However, we all know now that tonsils have a very important part to play in the functioning of the human body and in its immunity. It's been suggested that the tonsils can actively transport foreign antigens to a secret and hidden location within the body where they are introduced to both B and T cells, and they have a glass of wine together and swap knitting patterns. Or more likely, in the way of the immune system, they are completely annihilated. And finally, the gut. Did you know that 80% or so of your immune system is found in your gut? And this kind of indicates that to look after one, you must surely look after the other. Your gut is home to trillions of bacteria that are essential to health. The bacteria here and their delicate balance has a profound impact on all areas of our health. And this colony of intestinal flora, the gut microbiota, is also closely linked, of course, to the immune system. You may remember from the beginning that the mucous lining of the digestive tract contains antibodies and that the acid in the stomach will kill most microbes. Your gut contains a thin wall of cells that work as a barrier between what stays in the intestine and what passes into the bloodstream. Behind that barrier are cells that are linked to the immune system and are constantly sensing what is in the gut, communicating to other cells within the immune system. These cells are a vital part of the body's immune response when you're sick. Eating in a way that enhances and nourishes your gut bacteria is going to support your immunity. Every time we eat, our gut bacteria break down our food and use it to grow. And as this process occurs, healthy gut bacteria produce beneficial compounds that help you function optimally and are very beneficial for the way the whole body functions. It is also possible that if you have an imbalance of bacteria in your gut, they can produce compounds that lead to inflammatory responses that are not supportive for overall health and immunity. These things can be caused by stress, by highly processed diets, repeated bouts of antibiotics, well, lots of things. It's why eating a diet that encourages a healthy balance of bacteria is so important. It ensures that your gut bacteria, your precious gut flora, they're not wasting their precious immune response resources in fighting self-inflicted inflammation. A gut full of healthy bacteria leaves the immune system plenty of time to handle its many complex everyday functions, to rise to the challenges that come its way as part of a normal, healthy living. It's important to note that your immune cells cannot do their job properly if your gut is not happy. Understanding the link between the two can help to improve your body's ability to fight infection. The gut has evolved in a way that helps your body's immune cells to differentiate between harmful germs, body tissue, and healthy bacteria, letting the immune system know where it needs to respond. It makes sense to remain in good health. And really, healthy gut bacteria is a very important thing to focus on in diet. Problems in the gut can make you feel much more susceptible to being run down or picking up other illnesses, to depression, mental fogging, all sorts of things. And it is interesting to ponder on the fact that the gastrointestinal tract is made up of trillions of bacteria, and yet they are largely ignored by the immune system. Trillions of them. So why is that? How does the immune system know to ignore these beneficial bacteria that are so important for our ability to live a healthy life? Well, remember those T cells that go to school in the thymus? They're trained to kill off foreign microbes and other intruders that make their way into the human body. It seems that these T cells are educated in the gut not to attack beneficial bacteria. There can be exceptions to this. Of course, there are inflammatory diseases and so on, but I'm speaking right now of a healthy gut and a healthy immune system. In the thymus, T cells that could attack the body are actually destroyed before they're released into circulation. In the gut, a type of cell called an innate lymphoid cell can make a physical barrier between the bacteria in the gut and the immune system, and they protect the gut from any T cells that have gone rogue and start attacking beneficial bacteria. I mean, really, how incredible is this vessel, this vehicle that we ride around in? I would like us to sit together quietly for a few moments and acknowledge our immune system. Acknowledge the incredible job that it does. I mean, yeah, it's a mass murderer and it shows no mercy, but in terms of looking after this vessel, well, we wouldn't get very far without it. It takes superb care of the vessel. So again, if you feel you would like to, please close your eyes and breathe and settle and relax. You've had a lot of information over the last 40 minutes or so, and let it go. There's no need to hang on to any of it. Your essence, your beingness has already taken from this what is needed, so you can let it all go. Bring awareness to your inhalation, breathing in love and support from your environment and bringing that into the vessel. And exhale joy back into your environment. Joy and gratitude. And some awareness of what an incredible vessel you ride around in. Remember, the body responds to what you tell it. It really listens. Tell your immune system some things that you may not have told it before. Acknowledge its work. Acknowledge its place in your experience. Repeat to yourself some of the words that you have heard this evening in connection to your immune system. In repeating them, you bring attention to them. You bring awareness to them and they will feel it. So maybe thymus or lymph, tonsils, skin, phagocytes, spleen, wine. Is there a word that resonates with you that you've heard this evening? Is there a word that is pulling you? Maybe it's a place in your body that needs some particular attention. Go with your attention. See where it takes you. Sit with your intuition. There's no set way to do this. There's no way to sit and talk to your vessel that I can tell you about. It's your vessel. Ignore the mind and any stories that might come up and feel into the vessel. And just spend a few minutes here, breathing, acknowledging, and appreciating, feeling love and joy and peace, and trusting that your vessel knows how to look after you, that your immune system can take care of you. It's its job. You don't need to do anything. Keep breathing. Stay in the body. Ignore the mind. remember that home is where the heart is. Trust in your own heart. Trust in your own being. You are your own authority. You are sovereign. Allow love to be the light that leads you home. Allow love to show you that you've never been anywhere else. And gently, when you're ready, bring yourself back into your space, into your room. Next week, we will explore how each of the organs of the immune system present themselves when they are out of balance. And we will look at ways to bring them back into balance again, ways to support this important internal work. It may run into 2 sessions. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how much information I dig up. And it's good to take it slowly, I feel. It gets overwhelming for me to try and present too much to you at one go. So we'll see how that goes. And thank you for your attention tonight. And if you would like to share anything, contribute anything, then you are very welcome.